Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to yet another episode of Man Buns and Jesus. Josh is telling me this is episode 26 of season 2, but we don't actually know. We're just kind of spitballing here.
It is. I can.
Okay, it is episode 26 of season 2. It is a beautiful October Thursday here in the upper Midwest. We had frost on the ground this morning. And Josh, you know what frost season means. Just around the corner, that lake just up the road is going to be frozen over, create a beautiful sheet of ice.
It's hockey season, boys. I'm Josh Laborious. I'm the other host of this show, and I woke up this morning and it was like 55 degrees outside here. So also a beautiful October day here in Southern California. If you're watching the video, you'll notice I'm wearing a hoodie because all of our windows are open, and it's a little chilly. I wouldn't say it's cold, but I'm feeling a little chilly. So you can keep the frost, and when I want to see ice, I will go to a hockey rink to see ice. No, so from the beginning, all those 51 episodes ago now, Ben and I have ignored the typical rule of podcasts where like you have a central theme and a consistent like approach to things, with the approach of we do what we want. In the spirit of that, it's hockey season. We're both hockey fans and we do what we want. So this episode of Man Buns and Jesus is about hockey. So buckle up. Yeah, so starting off, this will be very valuable to you, especially if you're not a hockey person, because during this upcoming season, you will be able to better interact with your pastor if you're a member of our congregations, if you at least kind of understand how hockey works. Because I got to be honest, like my mood on certain days may or may not be tied to how well the Predators did the previous night. So there you go.
Same sentiment, but Minnesota Wild, and that's dangerous to say because I'm actually in a hockey city. The Red Wings are a big deal here.
Ooh, I'm sorry to all of you who are Red Wings fans. That's just unfortunate for you.
Yeah, they had decades of playoff success, and
since then they've had years of sadness.
This is most certainly true.
So we want to start off with just the fundamentals of hockey, and I think the very most fundamental thing is this: if you end the game with more points, you win. They are called points. They are also acceptably called goals. So keep that in mind. There are no touchdowns in hockey. I don't know what there are no runs in hockey, I guess.
Hey Josh, I think I need to butt in here and actually correct you already.
Oh, really?
Yes. My understanding is that they are only called goals because points is a different category.
You are correct. You are correct.
Both on a team scale and on an individual level.
Yes.
We'll get to that later, though. We'll get to that later.
Okay, so you continue, because I'm obviously I messed up already.
As a native Minnesotan, I pride myself in my ability to like deeply understand the sport of hockey and have no clue how to speak it with an outsider. So
this is a different language for all of you who
when somebody has a full head of hair that is well styled in hockey, you don't call that long hair, you call that a spicy salad.
Dude, I feel like we need to dedicate some time to all the hockey slang.
And if it is especially well groomed, it is some spicy arugula. Like you just gotta if you need a quick overview of some hockey hair slang, go ahead and watch the Minnesota State High School all hockey hair team videos. Um, things of beauty. Anyway, uh, that's another hockey term right there. Anyway, basics
Registered
of hockey.
beauticians, that's what that is.
Basics of hockey. On the ice at any given time, each team should have 6 players. And I say should because there are some caveats to that. Generally, you're going to see the team on the ice with 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. And that generally means that they're about where you expect them to be. The forwards are in the front, the defensemen are behind them, closer to the goal that they are defending, and the goalie stays in front of the goal. Yes.
Except in very rare circumstances.
Yes. At which point they get yelled at by broadcasters because they aren't tending the goal.
Yes.
Anyway, it's literally in their name.
Yeah.
Literally in their name. Anyway.
Well, not just broadcasters. I yell at my goalie when he leaves the goal too much.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Get back in there, Saros.
But the players are kind of constricted as to where they can move on the ice at any given time. So it's probably good that we kind of describe what an NHL rink looks like, because that's the majority of the hockey that you're going to see on TV. And that's how the college game is played, more or less, and high school games are played, more or less. So on the ice, you'll see 3 red lines. A solid red line that goes through the posts of the goal on each end of the ice.
Now, there is space between the back of the goal and the back of the rink. So you can skate behind the goal.
Yes. Important note. And then there is a often dashed, but can be solid red line through the center of the ice. That is literally just defining the center of the rink. Doesn't really have too much of a purpose outside of that. There are a couple of rules that we might cover later that it does apply for, but for the most part, you just need to know that that's the middle of the rink. And then there are 2 blue lines that are on opposite sides of that center red line. Those blue lines define what is called the offensive zone for the team that is attacking specifically.
And respectively, the defensive zone for the defending team.
Exactly. And the big piece that the blue lines really indicate is 1, offsides, which we'll get to later, and 2, whether the team that is in the offensive zone is still on offense, essentially.
Which matters matters mostly for reasons of statistics, right? I mean, it's good to be on offense and it's tougher to be on defense, but like the player on the ice isn't like, oh, I'm in the offensive zone, I feel better about they're still just trying to play their role.
Yeah. And it also matters for like what kind of possession you have of the puck. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Also, it's played with a puck. So it's about
Hold on, I have one.
Oh, Josh has got one. It's about 3 inches across, about 1 inch deep, made of solid rubber. Those things are hard. They're heavy. They're a pain in the butt if you take one off the leg. They're usually not gold. They're usually black.
Yeah, this is a Predators limited edition puck that my wife and I got from Bridgestone Arena, which is the Predator Stadium. By the way, if anyone's listening and they really love Josh and you want to make my year, send me on vacation to Nashville with tickets to Preds games. That's pretty close to, if I could pick any perfect vacation, it would be, I want to go to Nashville during a week where there are multiple Preds games and go to all of them. I'm a simple man with simple tastes.
So that's what your rank looks like. Well, no, we got face-off dots, and those are.
There are what, 5 of them? No, 9 of them.
9 of them. So at center ice, there's 1. That's where you drop the puck to start the game. The game is divided.
Hold on. Time out. Y'all, if you don't know what a hockey rink looks like, pause this, Google what a hockey rink looks like,
Hmm.
and we've described the major pieces. The red dots that you see 9 of, those are the face-off dots.
Yep. Two
There,
of
we
them
just
are,
saved some time.
yeah. Two of them are in each zone. There's four around the center dot, and then there's the center dot itself. Those are important for different things they'll come up later. Also, you decide who has possession of the puck by what's called a face-off, where the ref drops the puck from about waist height between two guys who have their sticks on the ice, and then they fight for it, basically.
Which
Um,
I think is a good segue into the rules of hockey, which this is one of the things I appreciate about the sport, because they're very straightforward rules. It's not like the NFL where like they have a million different things that decide whether or not something is a catch. Um, I'm not going to go through a rule book. I'm going to tell you what you will actually see called and what triggers it, because there are obviously technical definitions, but what the refs call on the ice is what matters. So, and I want to start with the one rule that I don't think anyone actually understands, and that is what it takes to get thrown out of a face-off circle. Because a lot of times at that face-off, where Ben was talking about, they drop the puck, the ref can stop and point to one of the two players waiting for the face-off, and they have to leave, and they have to trade for another player on their team. And I think the technical reading is like they're trying to pull too early, or their stance is not what it should be, like their feet are closer or farther than they should be. But really what it comes down to is if you annoy the ref, he's going to throw you out of the face-off circle. Because it's not like really a penalty. Like, yes, you want your best guy in the face-off circle, but like a professional hockey player, all of them have been doing face-offs for decades. So like
not the
anyone
defenseman.
well, yeah. But anyone who ends up in the face-off circle is going to be competent. So it's like another kind of rule is offsides and icing, which
Let's
you
go
have
like
to.
this. From the face-off circle, one of those two teams gains possession of the puck. They are then passing and trying to go towards the goal that they are shooting on. Along
Yes.
the way, the next thing that they are going to encounter rule-wise is offside.
Yeah, we watch different teams if you think that's the next thing that they're going to encounter, but continue.
The next thing that they are going to encounter on their quest to score a goal is offside.
Their quest to score a goal. I love it.
Okay, so offsides means that the puck has to be the first thing into the zone on offense for a team. And what
So
that
you
means
can't
is,
just camp a player by the other team's goal
yeah,
and pass it all the way down the ice to him.
yep. And so when a team is on offense and they're trying to get into their offensive zone, go over the other team's blue line, the puck needs to be the first thing in. That means you often see one guy go in first and other guys follow, or you see the team dump the puck in and other players will chase it. Think like a leading pass in soccer is kind of a similar play, or a kick in rugby, though that's even more niche. So I don't know why that's a good example.
Yeah, no. A leading kick in soccer that's just a lot more violent at the end.
Yes, yeah, basically. And then once the team gains possession of the puck in their offensive zone, they are all allowed to stay in that offensive zone until the puck goes back over the blue line, at which point they all need to leave the offensive zone, otherwise they're offside.
And when the defending team takes possession of the puck, they have to work it out. And here's where that middle red line comes into play, because if they shoot the puck to the other side of the ice from behind that red line, and their player is not the first one to get to it, that's an icing. So the play stops, the puck gets dropped back in their defensive zone, and here's the big thing: they cannot change the players who were on the ice. The other team can get because hockey players work in very quick rotations, right? 30 seconds to a minute for a lot of the offensive players. Defenders tend to sit on the ice a little bit longer, but they get tired fast. So if you've been on the ice a while and you just dump the puck down because you're exhausted, you don't get to leave. You have to stay, and that's why that one can be a big deal sometimes.
Yep.
But now we get to, unless you're going to stop me again, we get to talk about the fun penalties.
No, I was going to do something else first.
Oh, okay.
So then once the team's in the offensive zone, their goal is to score a goal. Their objective is to score a goal. Their quest is to score a goal. And
your mission, should you choose to accept it.
The defensive team is trying to stop them. Most often in a hockey game, what you're going to see is a team will shoot and a goalie will freeze the puck. That means that the goalie catches the puck and holds on to it, and after a couple of seconds, the ref has to blow the whistle, and it goes to a face-off. Sometimes those beautiful, beautiful moments happen where an offensive team puts everything together and a puck finds its way into the net. And then you are required to yell at the top of your lungs and terrify your dog.
These are facts.
But there are lots of things that either team can do illegally, either while they have the puck or otherwise. Those are called penalties. And this is where that caveat earlier of they're supposed to have 6 players on the ice comes into play.
Yes. So with penalties, there are 2 major kinds of penalties: minors and majors. For a minor, and that most penalties are minors.
There's actually a third, but we'll get to that later.
Yes. Well, I think you can
game
probably
misconduct.
count, right, and you can probably count 4 for double minors. Anyway,
that's just 2 minors though.
Yeah. So a minor penalty means if you commit it as a player, you have to go to the penalty box, which is a box it's on the opposite side of the rink as the benches, and you have to go sit in. It's like a timeout. You have to go sit like a kid's timeout, not like a sports timeout. You have to go sit in the penalty box until the timer goes out, and then you can go out. The detriment to your team is a player does not get to replace you. So if you normally have 6 people on the ice, if you take a penalty, then you have 5 people on the ice. If another person on your team takes a penalty, you only have 4 people on the ice. I think from there, if another person on your team takes a penalty, the other team starts getting extra players. They don't make you go. Do they make you go down to 2?
No, they give you a penalty shot.
Oh, it doesn't happen very often that you see that many players going at once, because you play more and more conservatively the less players you have on the ice, right? So, and then a major, you go to the box for 5 minutes. And if your team has a minor, if you have a player in the box for a minor and the other team scores a goal, you get your player back. The penalty is considered over. If it's a major, you do not get to, they can score goals. They can keep going. And you don't get to come back in until your 5 minutes is up. And Ben and I might see different penalties because my team plays a different style than his does. But the most common penalty, the minor penalties you will see a lot are, you will see cross-checking.
Before you get into your list, Josh, why don't we just read off the list of minors? Because most of them are pretty self-explanatory.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go for it.
So the list of minors are as follows. Boarding, which we'll come back to because that one's kind of hard to explain. Charging, also kind of hard to explain. But contact to the head makes sense. Cross-checking, you can't just take your stick and throw it into a guy's back. Delay of game, when you do something to make the game delayed. Elbowing, you can't throw bows. Slashing, you can't take your stick and use it as a samurai sword. Roughing is what it sounds like. You can't be excessively rough. obstruction. You can't interfere with a player that's trying to play the puck. High sticking. You got to keep your stick. You can't play the puck above the level of the net, which is at about 4 foot. So you'll most often see this called when a stick hits someone in the face. Kneeing.
High sticking as a minor penalty means you hit someone with your stick.
Yep.
Playing the puck with a high stick just means play stops and you go to a face-off circle.
Yes. Yep. Kneeing, obvious. Holding, also obvious. Holding the stick, somehow a different penalty, also obvious. Interference, this is very similar to obstruction. But obstruction, I think, is specifically for the goalie. Interference, no, I got that backwards.
No, interference is for the goalie.
Interference is for the goalie. Obstruction is for out ice players. Hooking, you can't take the blade of your stick and hook it around someone to slow them down. Unsportsmanlike conduct, don't be a jerk. Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Yeah. Tripping.
Can't trip other players. Yeah, most of them are obvious. I think some of the ones that are a little more flexible. So in hockey, it is totally acceptable to level someone.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you hit them kind of from like a safe direction and they have a chance, like they see you coming, kind of, you can level someone. That's not roughing. Roughing is like a dirty hit. You hit them from behind. You like go for their knees, like something like that. You punch them in the face and you're not fighting. That could be roughing. Slashing is interesting because like if you're like tapping someone with the stick on their legs or something, most of the time you won't get a slashing penalty unless you're tripping them, in which case it's a tripping penalty. Slashing most often gets called when you hit them on the stick or hands. That's when and the reason for almost all these rules, it's a safety thing. You don't want people hitting each other in the hands because your hands have a lot of little bones that break pretty easily. So you don't want people swinging these fiberglass sticks. I think they're fiberglass.
Yeah.
At each other in that way. Like most of those rules are for safety. The tripping one, I guess, and the interference, those are more to keep the game fair. But most of these are, let's not actually try to injure each other on the ice. And then major penalties. There's only one I really
Before we do that, let's circle back to boarding and charging.
Boarding?
You can
charging. I have never seen charging called. I know it exists, but I have never seen it called in a game.
So boarding, you are not allowed to hit a defenseless player into the boards. If they know you're there and they can see you coming, you're allowed to hit them into the boards.
The boards are the walls around the side of the rink.
Yes.
To clarify.
Yes. Charging, basically you need to not be going top speed into a player when you hit them. So there's a certain distance I think you're supposed to glide before you hit a player, or there's a certain number of steps that you're allowed to take before it's considered charging. Basically you just can't be hitting a guy at full speed or it's a penalty.
Which the reason it doesn't happen a lot is because hockey players are very defensive of their teammates. And if you charge one of their teammates, there are going to be repercussions for you besides going to the penalty box. Do I get to talk about majors now? Yes.
Do you want me to read the list?
I guess there's just one I'm excited to talk about.
That's fair. So the list of majors in hockey is as follows: butt ending, which use the butt of your stick to jab someone; checking from behind; fighting; fight instigating; holding or grasping of the face mask; pushing off an opponent with your skate; leaving the bench during an altercation; spearing; or, this is the caveat, any minor penalty that is deemed deliberate with an intent to injure the opposing player. So any of those penalties we've already talked about, if the ref determines this was completely malicious, say this happened in the playoffs last year and it was actually completely missed, but a guy wound up with both hands like at the bottom of his stick and samurai jacked his opponent. breaking his stick over the guy's arm. And it was missed at the moment, but the NHL released a statement saying that should have been a major slashing.
Yeah. So, given that list, only one major penalty gets called frequently, and it's a
Yeah.
they're fighting majors. So, within the rules of hockey, if you go up to another player and agree that you guys are going to fight, you both, and the signal for this is you both drop your gloves. So they are both bare-fisted when they're fighting. You drop your stick, you drop the gloves. And this is one of the beautiful things about hockey. The refs let the fight go until someone is on the ice, or if something like actually seriously dangerous starts to happen, sometimes they'll break it up. And then you fight. That's like they punch each other really in the face until one of them goes down to the ice, which, like you say, oh, that's barbaric. They're on the ice on ice skates. Like, it's pretty hard to generate a ton of force. Like, you rarely even see people bleeding or losing teeth from a fight because, like, you're on the ice, you're on skates. You can only generate so much force. And fights don't last a really long time because, again, you're on ice. When you're getting punched and you're punching, you're going to fall over pretty quickly. And the other thing with a fighting major is both players always get the 5. Sometimes someone will get an instigator penalty, which is an additional 2 minutes, but both players get the 5 minutes. So from a team perspective, they let it go. So you'll play 5-on-5. You'll continue to have a full, all 6 players on the ice, 5 skaters on the ice. And hockey fights play a very important role. I mentioned earlier, like, if you commit a charging penalty, you're going to have other issues. This is your other issue, because most teams have at least one player who their thing is they drop gloves. The Nashville Predators have an entire team of players who drop gloves because that's who our coach is, and I love every second of it. But if you're, especially against the other team's star player, if you're committing penalties you shouldn't be, someone is going to come up to you and say, listen, I'm going to beat your face in. I'm either going to get a roughing or we're going to fight. And a lot of times it's a fight. So it's you're sticking up for your teammate, you're defending, and sometimes you just get it emotionally. Like last year, there was a game where the San Jose Sharks lost by like 9 goals. It was terrible. They were just getting their tails whooped, and someone on the other team scored another goal, and they fought. They dropped gloves and they fought because they're like, you didn't need to score that goal. Stop that. There was another there. I forget who the 2 teams were. This was back in the COVID season, but one of the players on the team committed a disgustingly dirty hit in the previous time they had played.
Oh, was this the whole Tom Wilson of the Capitals? Yeah, they were playing the Rangers, and I believe it was the Rangers. And every time that the guy stepped foot on the ice, the Rangers saw fit to fight him. And so he was in the box, I think 3 or 4 times that night on fighting majors. And I think in the first period of that game, there were like 7 fights, which like in your average NHL game, you might have 1. There were 7. And I believe the next time those 2 teams played, before the game started, everyone on the ice dropped gloves and the entire teams fought. So like the entire first line for each team had to go to the box for the first 5 minutes of the game. So I love hockey fights. I think they have a place. I think they have a good place. And in reality, guys don't really get hurt very often. Mostly you get embarrassed, right? But the Nashville Predators, which is my favorite team, as I mentioned, we have fighters. And one of them is a registered beautician named Tanner Jeannot, who last year
as a rookie, he had the most fights in the league. He had 14 fights, and there is a wonderful website called hockeyfights.com who keeps track of fights. They tell you what the game was, who it was against, when the fight was. So if you would, I don't know, want to go back and watch the fight, you could. And they'll explain the circumstances that led to the fight if warranted. And they declare winners because, like, you don't actually declare a winner in the fight. Like, the refs don't say, oh, this person won, but you can tell. So they have a polling system and they find out who won. So of his 14 fights last season, he won 12 of them. And the 2 he lost, it was like a 49% vote against him. So I love Tanner Jeannot. He might be my favorite hockey player right now.
Yeah. It's also worth noting the NHL has been trying to crack down on it. Back when I started watching
Goalies
hockey,
don't fight anymore, which is sad, but
you say that. I was at a game last year between the Wild and the Red Wings. And the only reason that there wasn't a goalie fight was because the Red Wings goalie got held back by his defenseman. The Wild's goalie had already come all the way down the ice to fight the Red Wings goalie. It was wild. Anyway.
And
yeah,
I don't think we mentioned this. Anytime you get a minor, if you draw blood on the other player, you get a second minor and they don't go away. So you're in the box for 4 minutes and the other team can score as many times as they want. Mm-hmm. That's why sometimes, like, if someone gets slashed in the nose, you'll see them before the ref walks over, kind of like hitting themselves in the nose to try to encourage a little bit of bleeding to happen. You're not supposed to, but players do it anyway, because you get the extra penalty minutes if they drew blood. So
yeah, and there's also that's one way you can get a double minor. Another way you can get a double minor is there's this thing called a delayed penalty, where a penalty will be called by the refs, but as long as the team on offense still has control of the puck, especially in their offensive zone, the ref will wait off or hold off on actually enforcing the penalty and blowing the whistle until that play kind of fizzles out or ends. And at that point, when the penalty is called, the team that the penalty was committed against will pull their goalie, send a sixth skater onto the ice, and they'll play 6-on-5 basically.
Because the second the other team touches the goal, the penalty's called and play stops. So they can't score on the empty net.
They can, but only if the team on offense accidentally pushes it back.
Yeah, it has to be an own goal.
Which also happened in a Wild game last year, and it was hilarious.
It's just sad.
Yes. Anyway, but during that time, if you were the person who had a minor called on you to begin with, if you committed a second minor, you can also get called for that and end up in the box for a double minor.
Yeah. So now you, as our listener, should have at least a fundamental understanding of how the game works. So hopefully you cannot go to a hockey game with me and yell about wanting stupid penalties that didn't actually happen. Mm-hmm. I love whatever team I'm rooting for as much as you do, probably more. But don't call for penalties that didn't happen. Anyway, before we get, I'm really excited for our last session, Ben, and I think you are too. But before we get there, I do want to do a quick rundown of hockey player lingo, because I have noticed that as hockey season goes deeper, I tend to use at least a little bit more of it. So be prepared if you're in my congregation. I found a list online from the hockeywriters.com. I don't know how great it is because I haven't heard some of these. But anyway, I'm a Southern hockey fan, so that might be why I haven't heard them. So actually, let's do this. We're going to play a game. I'm going to tell you the player lingo, and Ben, you tell me if you think you know what it means.
Okay.
Okay?
Go for it.
An apple.
It's an assist.
It's an assist. Bardowski's.
It's when you hit the top crossbar of the goal and it goes in.
What a barn?
That's your rink.
Yep. A barn burner.
It's a close game in your rank.
Used to describe a high-scoring, fast-paced, and exciting game.
All right.
So close. A beautician.
That's a very skilled player.
Yeah. Well, I love their definition. A player on the team that's talented both on the ice and loved off the ice by the rest of the team. Typically has great flow, which means great hair,
Mhm.
great hands, and can wheel ladies off the ice. We'll get there later. A bender.
A bender? I don't know if I know that one.
A player who is awful at hockey and whose ankles bend inward because his skates don't fit right. Biscuit.
That's your puck.
Breadbasket.
Uh, that means you're putting it right on a player's tape. Usually, if you're putting it right in the breadbasket.
Yeah. Bucket.
Um, I think that has kind of a similar meaning, doesn't it?
No, the bucket is your helmet. I
Oh,
knew
you're
that
right.
one.
You're right. I don't know why I didn't think of that one.
Oh, this is an easy one. Selly.
It's a celebration. You score, you better celebrate.
Yeah. There's a great rap song called Dangle, Snipe, and Selly that I think you should all listen to, and I will be linking to this podcast. Chell.
That's the NHL 2K. No, it's the NHL. It's an EA franchise. NHL the video game.
Yep.
Yep.
Chiclets.
Those are your teeth.
Yep. Chirp.
That is to badmouth the other team. It's also known as talking trash.
Yep. Trash talk. A clapper.
That is a slap shot. It's the sound that the stick makes as it hits the ice. Sounds like hands clapping, but really loud.
Coast to coast.
It's when you go from one end of the ice to the other.
I
Usually
feel
with a
like
goal
that's not a
attached.
hockey unique one. That's
No.
a duster.
Uh, I mean, to be a dusty player just means you're wearing really flashy equipment, but you don't necessarily earn it. So I'm guessing a duster is probably the person wearing all of the flashy equipment.
The description here is may or may not also be a bender, but is definitely very bad at hockey, gets little ice time, and when he does get out on the ice, it's at the end of the game when the score doesn't matter.
Okay.
Flow.
Hair.
They have a great picture of Eric Carlson here with great hockey flow. For the boys.
I mean, that just means you're being a good teammate.
Yeah. It used to describe any actions that the rest of the team enjoys or when a player makes a sacrifice for the team. Gordie Howe hat trick.
That's what, a goal, an assist, and a fight in the same game.
Goal, assist, and a fight. A grinder.
That's your player that just they do a lot of very physical things. So it's oftentimes a good defender, but also somebody who's not afraid to fight. Digs out pucks in the corner. Oftentimes goes up against the other team's best offensive players, but they know that they're just gonna have to lay their body on the line to do whatever they can to keep the puck out of the net.
Yeah. Hoser. Ooh,
That's
I
someone
knew this one.
I didn't know this one. Is it somebody
Okay.
with a good shot?
No, a hoser is a loser
Ah,
because back in the early days, the losing team had to ice down the rink afterward, had to
that
like
makes sense.
spray the water on the
That makes sense.
lay the lumber on him.
Usually that means that you are dropping a heavy hit on your opponent. Stick
Yep.
may or may not be included.
Ben already covered this one. Lettuce or flow or salad. Light the lamp.
Score a goal. When you score a goal in hockey, there's somebody behind the net whose entire job it is just to watch the back of the net. And if the puck goes in the net, they hit a button and a little lamp goes off. Hence the term light the lamp.
Lip sweater. That's I don't like that one. A mustache. Mitts.
I mean, that's just your gloves, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. That's,
um pylon.
somebody who's attempting to play defense but is so bad at it, it's just like skating around a cone in practice.
Yeah, pylon is just a great general insult too. Sauce or saucy.
Usually that means like really, really good touch. Often used to refer to like a really well placed, delicate pass between sticks, legs, whatever the case may be.
The show.
That's the NHL.
Yep. Snipe.
That means you are firing a very, very firm shot into a very small target area, beating a goalie through a gap that they thought they had covered.
So we have dangle, snipe, and celly. Dangle is the handling, snipe is the shot, and celly is the reaction. Top cheese.
That means you're going above the goalie's shoulders, beating them to either side of their face mask.
Turtle.
Usually means that you're along the boards and you're trying to protect yourself. At least that's the way that I understand it.
Yeah. Well, here it says when one of the players in the fight would rather not and just crouches and covers himself.
Oh, okay.
So
I think I've heard that in other references too.
Wheeling.
I
think you're gonna get this one wrong.
feel like there's two different ways this could be used. So I've heard it referenced in like the way that other sports will use it, where somebody with wheels has speed. So somebody wheeling around the ice is just somebody flying around the ice and using their speed to their advantage. Or one of the famous hockey celebrations is to skate down the ice with your arm floating around in a circle in kind of a fist pumpy motion, but over and over and over again. And I would assume that this is in reference to the latter.
Wheeling is the act of picking up girls.
No, I also heard that one before.
Yeah. And this is the only one that they missed. Dangle, which means like you handle the puck really well, but it's not on this list. So I'm going through the comments to see if they added any that weren't on the list. But yeah. So those are hockey lingo, and boys also get like the guys on the team. It's the boys. And it's important to note that hockey nicknames are really easy. Typically, it's the guy's last name with a
Y.
With a Y on the end. So or an SCY. Yeah. So like we have Joe Hansen on our team. He's Joey. We have Forsberg on our team. He's Forzy. Jeannot is just Jeannot, although his teammates, when asked, just say he's a bad man. Shore, the famous Shore from Letterkenny is Shoresy, and he's a hero to the people. So I said that I was excited. Ben's excited about this this last section, which we're going to close. I don't think we're going to do takeaways today because really, there's not much. Just learn. So our closing segment today is we're going to go through the list of NHL teams and tell you which ones a good Christian can root for.
I think it's just whether or not we think from our perspective it's acceptable to root for this team. And I will add the caveat. If you live in the metropolitan region of any of these teams and you have ties to that area, you are allowed to root for that team. Yes. If you live outside that metropolitan region, then these rules apply.
Yes.
I have the standings up for the season that is currently underway, in which both of our teams aren't doing so hot. And we're just going to go down the list and gut reaction, and you get like a sentence per team as to why you think people should or shouldn't root for that team. Bruins.
Sure.
I'm gonna say
they have Brad Marchand, which I think is one of the most entertaining players in hockey. So
also probably the dirtiest player in hockey, though.
Definitely the dirtiest player in hockey.
I'm going with no, because I think they're too pretentious.
That's I can see where that would come from. Yes,
Florida Panthers.
go for it. They've earned their way.
They're fun to watch, but I don't think hockey should exist in Miami. Uh, Ot- Ottawa Senators.
I don't care. They're a Canadian team, so take that with what you will.
They're honestly like the hockey equivalent of the Detroit Lions. So if you like suffering, it's a good team for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Or this next one, the Buffalo Sabres.
Again, I mean, go for it if you kind of hate yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Detroit Red Wings.
I'm gonna say no for the same reason I don't like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their big thing is we used to be really good and they just suck now. So get over yourselves. Get
The Red Wings
better.
have a lot of cool history, and they've got a strong fan base already. So if you don't live in the state of Michigan, find another team. uh, Toronto Maple Leafs.
If you want to root for this team, you can, but just get ready to go to playoffs and then be disappointed
Yep, yep,
because that's all they're good at is getting
yep.
to the playoffs and then not doing anything there.
It's like being a Senators or Sabres fan, but without.
But with hope.
Yeah, but with hope that gets destroyed rather than like gently laid down.
So like
later.
being a Vikings fan, it's very similar to being a Vikings
Yeah,
fan.
it's almost identical, to be honest. Tampa Lightning.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
They're
with no.
too good and it's disgusting. And they kind of cheated with their salary cap to win one
Yeah.
of their cups.
And I also still rule applies. Hockey should not exist in Florida.
Even
Montreal
though they have that many teams.
Montreal Canadiens.
I'm gonna say no because they picked such a stupid name. What are we gonna be? We'll be the Canadians, because we're in Canada.
I mean,
Stop it.
to be
Their
fair to
logo
them,
also looks dumb.
they're the most successful team in the history of the NHL. They've won like 26 Stanley Cups, and they
That's
play in
because
the
they
city.
played back when there were like 0 teams in the league.
There were 6, but you're right. And they play in the city that invented poutine, so I can't trash them too much. Carolina Hurricanes.
I like the Canes. They're a fun team. They're a good team. Go for it. Root for. They'd be my favorite team if I wasn't a Preds fan.
Fair. I'm gonna agree with that. Penguins.
I hate the Penguins. They took a Stanley Cup from us, and I'm still not over it.
They're an acceptable
And
team.
what's his name? Sidney Crosby is basically a human cheat code.
Yes.
Well, not anymore, but he used to be.
Yes. I think it's acceptable to be a Penguins fan. You just got to realize in about 3 years they're going to have to go through a total rebuild. So expect failure in the near future. Philadelphia Flyers.
They play kind of dirty. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, same. Capitals.
Yes, I like the Capitals. Alexander Ovechkin is a hero to the people, and he drinks Coca-Cola out of his Gatorade bottle on the sidelines. So go for it. Root for the Capitals.
You can root for the Caps, but you have to boo Tom Wilson.
Yes, yes. Good rule. Good rule.
New Jersey Devils.
Again, if you want to be sad, go for it.
Know that you will be forever asking yourself, what does a good goalie look like? New York Rangers.
I'm surprised they're that low. I have nothing against the Rangers. They should be pretty good. I don't know why they're that low in the standings.
They
I mean, obviously I do. They didn't win a lot, or they haven't won a lot, but
yeah, it's also early in the year. New York Islanders.
Sure, I don't care.
Yeah, they're kind of vanilla. Go ahead. Columbus Blue Jackets.
No, I don't like them because I went to a game and their fans are terrible. That's the reason I don't like the Blue Jackets.
I don't mind them as much, but it's another team where you're going to expect to suffer. Yeah. They're bad. Dallas Stars.
No, they play dirty. Do not like the Dallas Stars.
And another team that shouldn't exist where it's placed. Colorado Avalanche.
Uh, it's. I feel like I have to say you should hate them because they're so freaking good.
Yeah.
But
You
like,
you can
I
admire
can't
them,
tell
but
you a
you
reason beyond that.
you can admire them, but you are required to not like them. They're like the New York, well, they're currently like the New York Yankees of hockey.
Yeah, they're just so flippin' good.
Yep. Blackhawks.
They're a rival of the Predators, so I have to say get rid of them.
And their whole franchise is a mess. They're like personal reasons and professional reasons.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. St. Louis Blues.
Disgusting.
Yes.
My least favorite team in the league because of Eric. And Ben knows who I'm talking about.
Yep. Jets.
Jets. I'll give them some credit because they a long time ago they were the Atlanta Thrashers, which means they should get some credit for you because they left the South and went to a quote unquote natural hockey place.
Yep. They play in the smallest market in the NHL, so I definitely like that for them. Minnesota Wild. Yes. Nashville Predators.
Yes, they're the best team in the league. But if you root for that team, be prepared for a lot of stability, a lot of fights, and a lot of questions as to why aren't we winning more games? Because on paper, we're a lot better than this.
And you're required to bring a catfish to the arena. That's my
Correct.
understanding.
Correct. Okay. It must be thrown on the ice in preparation for the game.
Phoenix Coyotes.
Hockey the Arizona Coyotes, they're just
that's right.
They're just so
right.
bad.
That's right.
Chris and I went to a game last season, and there are more fans at the minor league team we go to than were at this Coyotes game. It was pitiful.
And hockey shouldn't exist in the desert. Yeah. Vegas Golden Knights.
I'm okay with them now. When they first started, they were uppity.
Their management is still a bunch of jerks. And also, hockey shouldn't exist in the desert. Calgary Flames.
I don't like them. They've signed some players that I don't think they should have signed because they're dirty players.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
They've got some players that can test your nerves, but they're also a good team, and they play in Canada. Edmonton Oilers.
They don't. They're the ones that have like one good player, but he's good enough to. They're good. The two good players are enough to carry the entire team wherever they want to go.
They have like two of the top 5 players in the league, and the rest of the team is kind of crap. So, if you like teams like that, it's a good team for you. Seattle Kraken.
Really cool mascot. They did good with that one, and for that reason, go ahead and root for them if you want.
Yep.
They're not very good.
No, their jerseys are sweet. They're not very good.
But their branding is good.
Yep. LA Kings.
Sam, if you ever listen to this, I'll give them my 3rd favorite team in the league.
I'm going to say no because they stole Gretzky from Canada. Sharks.
Nope. Get them out of here. Disgusting. They're dirty players, and the Kings also hate them because they're California rivals.
I'm also going to say no. Ducks.
Disneyland, they don't know what they're doing.
I'm going to say no because you shouldn't name a team after a Disney movie. And Canucks.
That's another one like, what are we going to name ourselves? We're in Canada. Canadians is taken. Canucks, why not? Stupid.
I'll second that.
They're the last team in the league. So if you want to be a fan of the literal worst team in the league,
their coach is an amazing quote. So if you like coaches that go off and say things how they are,
if you like the press conferences more than the games, then go for it.
Yeah, you'll get plenty of good Bruce Boudreau quotes. So
perfect.
With those things, that's it. That's been about an hour of hockey talk from the Theology podcast.
So next time will be theology. Subscribe to our show so you don't miss that. And we have a Facebook page if you want to reach out to us.
Yep.
Go in peace, serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.